Brendan Burns.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm particularly pleased to take a call as we're debating Clause 8 of the Royal Society of New Zealand Amendment Bill as it relates to that important issue that members of the Royal Society shall not take part for dividend or profit. And the reason I say that is that last night I was one of a number of members of this House who were privileged to attend a function to recognise the firefighters of Canterbury and the West Coast who came to our city of Christchurch on February 22nd and ensuing days. And the rewards that they were given were nil in terms of profit or dividend. They came simply because of their humanity, I suppose. Many of them volunteers, certainly some professional firefighters amongst the ranks of those who were present last night, and there were perhaps 200 or 300 people at the former Wigram Air Base Museum for the award ceremony. The Minister, Nathan Guy, was in charge of the ceremony, a number of other members there. And it really brought home to me the importance that we should continue to attach, and I think we're doing that very much so in Clause 8 of this bill, to people who serve not for profit or dividend or personal gain, but for something bigger than that. And I want to acknowledge in this House at this first opportunity my thanks to those firefighters for their valiant service to my community, particularly in the CBD at the heart of my electorate, because there is no amount of reward, there is no amount of dividend, there is no amount of profit that we could provide to them which would say thank you enough for what they did in the hours and days and weeks that followed our nation's national disaster of unprecedented consequence. And so I'm pleased to see that the Royal Society under this bill is affirming its tradition that when it operates it is not doing so on a basis of profit or dividend. And that's important because here is a society with a noble tradition. It has been one that's been centred on the sciences, and this bill, under the adept stewardship of my colleague Grant Robertson, MP for Wellington Central, is bringing through a bill which will add to the dimensions of the Royal Society those who come from the humanities background. And I guess if those firefighters could be categorised, and they're not intellectuals, they're not scientists, they're not people with professional degrees in most instances. I'm sure occasionally in their ranks there might be somebody with an advanced university degree simply because they love the contribution they can make through something like the New Zealand Fire Service. And if the member wants to interject on that point, he's most welcome. I'm sure the people of Tauranga would like to know that he doesn't agree that our firefighters deserve to be recognised in this House alongside people from the Royal Society, because there is a parallel there between people who serve not for profit, not for dividend, but for public service, to the people of this country, and I think that does deserve to be recognised. We do, as a society, not the Royal Society, but as a society, I think tend to put too much focus on the cost of things rather than the value of things. And I think that this clause really enshrines the fact that there is something beyond the dollar sign returns. It is around an issue of public service, and I think the Royal Society embodies that beautifully, as do the firefighters of this nation. And if we only have a short-term focus based upon profit, then I think we will see a continued falling away of the way our society holds together and operates. And if you want to look at it in a business setting, things like a company which only has a focus on short-term profit will not be investing in research and development, the sort of research and development that members of the Royal Society often help drive, because they're not there for the short term, they're there for a long-term haul. They can often give their whole lives to the particular study of one small, unique subsection of the sciences and soon the humanities. But that still makes a huge contribution, because sometimes those tiny little areas of research can lead to enormous quantum leaps for us as a society. And that's why I think that enshrining in Clause 8 of this bill the fact that we are not centred, the Royal Society is not centred upon profit or dividends to its members, will encourage them to follow their natural creed, I guess, which is that they are there for public service, they are there to contribute to society, they are there as members of the Royal Society because they want to do their utmost and best for the communities in which they live, for the professions in which they serve, for the disciplines which they represent. And I think that's important to be upheld by this clause.
Colin Davis.